Yesterday, we learnt that the Magpies have their battalion returning for Friday nights, and today, Sam Mitchell was batting away questions that loom over the Hawks as they head to the next high-end assignment.
And Sam Mitchell's come back from Darwin. He's got a nice little tan. He looks like he's fit and ready to go. How'd you go up there?
Well, we lost, so not that great.
No, I know. Nice and grubby.
Sam Mitchell just about lost the plot. Channeling his old coach, he was there.
How's your hand going?
It's fine, yep.
Is it all right?
Yeah, no worries. It was quite soft behind it, thankfully.
How frustrating was it last weekend?
It's about as frustrating as that, to be honest.
What's your biggest concern or frustration at the moment with how you guys are playing?
Oh, I think you're much more frustrated as a media group than we are. When you guys say, oh, they're flying, they're 4-0, they're premiership favourites, I was saying sort of, OK, we're not going quite as well as that. We're making progress and we're going OK, but we've got some work to do. And now we've lost 2 games in a row and it's like, oh, they've lost the plot, they're not going to win ever again and they can't win with Will Day and the stories. And my job is to have the reality of the narrative. And the reality is always somewhere in between.
The Sicily performance was... I don't know what's going on with him, whether he's injured or not. He was all at sea and he was a big problem.
Just on system of groins, something he's going to have to...
His groins are fine. His groins are fine. His groins are fine. He's playing every week. There's no reason that his kicking has anything to do with his groins. His groins are fine, and he kicked the ball reasonably well last week, I thought. Go watch all of his kicks and tell me which ones you thought he could do better. Bring me back, show me some vision. That is a storm in a teacup. We don't feel like we're, quite as bad as perhaps what it looks like.
There's good questions about him, and I might get answered Friday night.
There's a feisty demeanour about the coach, and well, there might be right now. He says it's always in between. The question is, are they in between? Are they a top 4 contender or are they in between? And to some extent, we're about to get our answer to that.
Yeah, I loved it. There's a little bit of edge there, which I think it's timely that they come. It's really interesting. This time last year, Jared, they're 4 wins and 7 losses. They got a percentage of 82 and no one's really having a great big look at them. They went on a 10-2 tear, finished at 118% and won their first final. They're 7-4 with 117%.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Are they in the same build phase as they were this time last year? It's an interesting point. They're beautifully positioned. 7-4, you'd take that, I reckon, at the start of the year. They won the first 4 games of the year with Will Day in that side. They're 3-4 without Will Day. I think it's instructional. I think he's so important. I think their clearance numbers, which is a problem, it can be sheeted back to his absence a fair bit. But look, there's not a disaster here by any stretch, and he's exactly right. No one's suggesting that as he said, they're never going to win again and they've lost the plot. Not one media person has said Hawthorn have lost the plot on the back of those 2 losses.
And we'll say anything.
No, and we will. So let's just, control the narrative. No one said they've lost the plot. But we do get excited about them from time to time. But, this is reality. The clearance is down 17 against the Lions, centre bounce 7, down 15 against the Suns, centre bounce 9. That's with Warple and that's with Newcombe in the middle of the ground. It's interesting, they're getting their hands on it, but opposition teams are taking the ball away. So they've gone to work on them to some degree. And the players that are just off, Moore is just off. All-Australian last year, 30 plus. He's kicked 11 goals from 11 games. OK, been OK, but he's an All-Australian, Jared. So that was the driver in that back half. D'Ambrosio, All-Australian 40. He was a driver in the back half. He was a top 20 player from the ratings. He ended up he's right now outside the top 150. So off. Impey, off just a bit. Sicily, off just a bit. All these things add up to the fact that, OK, they've lost 4 of their last 7 games and then now come to Collingwood. They've got doing a lot right, though. They're hard to play against still. You don't score against them on intercept. You don't score against them necessarily from clearance, although the last 2 weeks has been a battle and, they defend their inside 50 really well. So all those things, you'd look at that and go, nah, we're OK. And he can be feisty. But I just get a feeling there wouldn't have been much Hollywood Hawks talk.
No Hollywood Friday
Not this week. I reckon it was, get back to work, you blokes, and let's put a stake in the ground here and remind people how good we've been. And no better team to do it against than the top of the team. The couch premiership window, they're in it. Yep. So top 5 points for, top 4 points against. So that tells you that they are still in really good shape. But little concerns are there, and that's OK. That happens. A long, hard season. We saw it last year. They started slow and finished like a train. What they don't want is start fast, win the 4 games, and fall in a heap. I don't think they will, Jared. I think they've got too much talent.
Credible against the Suns, and then outplayed for most parts against the Lions. Yeah. They've got Collingwood, the Western Bulldogs, and Adelaide. So these, we get fussy at this time of year. Who have you beaten? Well, they've beaten the Giants, who have been 8 of 8.
Yep.
So we've had a top 7 and the Giants have occupied the next place. And then they've built their numbers against those below that.
Yep.
So get to a moment in the season, it's time to take a scalp.
Yeah.
Do it convincingly. Show us what you've got. Do it against Collingwood, who we all regard as the benchmark team right now.
And there's only 7 games this round, you know. So I suspect he's walked into that press conference today, you know, been heavily dissected last week and now heavily focused on, and it'll be heavy focus Thursday, Friday in the build-up. And if the coach has got a bit of a bristle about him, which it wasn't too bad, but I actually love it when he gets a bit indignant. Like, James Sicily is the #1 turnover kick in the competition, right? So that's just out there. And last week was okay, it was a bit better. But when he goes in to defend the defend his captain, I love it, Jared, because that's, you know, it's closing the walls and saying Friday night, everyone, you know, there's a bit of the us against them, and away you go. So let's get into it. I can't wait.
I don't want to tell your panel how to do its job on Friday night, but if anyone's going to ask about Sicily, have the vision cut.
I'm not asking about it.
Thursday night is where the round starts. We'll be at the Gabba tomorrow night. It's compromised to a couple of degrees. Essendon is in the scourge of injury, while Brisbane are off a 5-day break, and it's a scenario they didn't handle well last month.
It's hard to freshen them up because you've only got 5 days, so we haven't done a lot. We've just been really in recovery mode. We had a reasonably short hit out yesterday, but the good thing is everyone's recovered well from the game on the weekend, you know, so that's all you can ask for. They're very professional, our players. They do all their recovery things that they do during the week to give themselves the best chance to be in great shape. And to be honest, I mean, Essendon played the day before us. They've had 6 days. They've got to travel, so, you know, part and parcel of AFL footy these days.
They've dropped a couple at the Gabba, the Lions, so that has to stop if they want to build their credentials to that top 2 finish. That's Thursday night footy. The teams are always going to be fascinating tonight. So the Lions are unchanged, which is not surprising, except that it means McInerney, they're going to take the chance to rest him again, and why wouldn't you at this stage? And Kitty Coleman, who played that one game, was then rested and doesn't win his place back for now. It was always going to be about what happened at Essendon, who are forced to make 3 changes. So a 7th debutant, Zach Johnson, comes in. He's picked 70 from the draft, an 18-year-old rebounding defender. Elijah Sardis, who's played the 3 games this year, hasn't been able to hold his place. And Archer Day-Wicks, who played the games against Sydney and the Bulldogs. Mackay, Reid, Langford join Ridley and Jones and Draper and Bryan and Hayes and Cox. And that's why they'll be taking so many picks in the mid-season draft. They're bone dry.
Yeah, and that's their spine, Mackay, Reid, Langford there. So, I mean, you look at it, it just means that the peripheral defenders who have played 2nd and 3rd come into more focus. Say Laverde and Redmond have to play, you know, bigger roles. And then, you know, they still have Caddy, they still have Wright in the front half. It's interesting, Dylan Shield remains as an emergency. So when you look at a situation like this and you go, OK, you think that you want to turn to a pretty experienced player, but he doesn't get a look in. And even Joy Menzies sits on the emergency bench as well. So these are those games where they never say it, but it's nothing to lose here for the Essendon team. You go there and you just build and build, you know, keep challenging your group to take on Brisbane, paint a narrative around the fact that it's a 5-day break and they might just be a little, half a step off, and see if you can't jump them. That's sort of what you build up.
And the Lions have had those couple of games. So last week they were roused by the challenge. Come to the MCG, faced Hawthorn. The previous 2 weeks they got a bit comfortable against Melbourne, and then 10 minutes where it got out of control. And I suspect it didn't appeal to them, the trip to Tasmania, and they thought they had that under control as well. So I can't imagine they'd be taking a game like this for granted with those 2 recent case studies for them. No,
but on that basis, then there is a pattern of behaviour there. So they, you know, to be forewarned is to be forearmed, and I'm sure that Chris Fagan's throwing that down their throat, but we've seen sillier things happen. So I'm trying to build some interest in it for you, Jared. And I think these games are sometimes really interesting. That these in the end, by the time they run out, the Essendon boys will have been, you know, put into a mind frame that says, yeah, we can take them. So let's see what happens tomorrow night.
All right, that's Thursday night footy. That's your team right here on Fox. Have you felt the bite of winter?
Just. It's been pretty... well, I want the bite of rain for everyone. That's what I want.
Today was a bit on the nasty side. I was reaching for a beanie today. Thought, do I have a beanie?